Hi, friends. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher and you, because you are the key person to this equation. You are the one that drives the show. We are here to walk alongside you, to journey with you, and to learn a little, grow a little, and to really experience life in a different way from your perspective, your life experience. And that we introduce the topics, and that's how we do this on Take Two. And it's really a very popular show. We're very grateful for that. Thank you for allowing us to be in your homes, in your cars, at your workplaces. We very much appreciate it. Jerry and I do not take this lightly. The responsibility is there, so please pray for us, but we really count on you to drive the show. So I think I kind of set the introduction, Jerry, about what Take Two is all about. I'm going to let you. I don't know. I can't quite remember what our topic is today.
We're going to talk about memory today. Memory is, of course, a great gift of God. It's part of our mind, our brain, wherever memory is to be found within the human person. But as we get a little bit older, sometimes the memory starts to diminish just a little bit. I'm experiencing some of that in my life, Debbie. I imagine that you are as well, and it's part of, I guess, just the human life process. But I want to ask the question of you, our listeners: how do you keep your memory strong? How do you choose to remember things? And the reason this topic came to my mind, Debbie, is because, as you know, we have our smartphones and our tablets and our computers and so many various technological ways of reminding ourselves of things that I find myself anyway. I don't know if I get lazy, in terms of my actual memory, and I just rely on these other things or what. But I'd love to hear some other people's takes and perspective on this.
So we titled the show "Remind Me." Okay, so if you feel that that's happening to you, like you can't even remember what you ate for dinner last night, like I can't remember what I had. I have to think about that for a minute. Oh, I had soup. That's right. But it's so true. You forget things like that. But Jerry, when you were saying relying on technology, I actually have friends that cannot remember their home phone numbers anymore, different numbers, because they're all programmed into their smartphones. And so they forget the phone numbers. And it's very interesting because when I heard that some of my friends, it has happened to them, I made it a point to review numbers and to memorize. My dad was really big on memorizing things. In fact, he used to play these games with us as when we were kids growing up, and also with my kids, his grandchildren. He used to have us memorizing things like crazy, and it was great. He was a big Reader's Digest person, and so he was always big on word for the day and remembering this and that. But I'll tell you what, he went all the way to his last breath on earth at 83 years old, and he was still had as sharp as a wit, his mind. Really amazing. So I guess those exercises do work, Jerry.
Well, they do, and I find myself, I like to do some of those, when you're on an airplane and you've got in the back of the magazines, you've got some of those word games and word searches and things like that. So what do you, dear friends, dear listeners of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, what do you do to keep your mind sharp, your memory strong? And are you like me? Do you find yourself kind of leaning on the automated kind of computer reminders? They're great things. They're certainly good in and of themselves. I am taking nothing away from them. In fact, I use them all the time. I don't know where my life would be without them. But I will tell you this. I think my ability to recall things, like you said, Debbie, and to memorize things is, I think it's maybe not as sharp as it once was or could be, partly because of maybe the passing of years, but also, again, like I said, when post-it notes were big, I would have them all over the house and all over my desk and everything.
Too.
And that's kind of given way now to the computer and phone reminders. So here's the number. Share your outlook on this. 833-288-3986. 833-288-EWTN is the toll-free number.
Jerry, as our wonderful Facebook Live and YouTube families can see, that I'm not in my normal studio. I'm at the Sacred Heart Radio in Seattle, Washington. Their pledge drive, their spring share-a-thon, it's going well. Second day, lots of calls coming in. Sacred Heart Radio plays our show on Sundays, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, which we're very grateful for. Thank you so much. But Jerry, I just wanted to share that just a few minutes ago, Ron Belter, the president and founder of Sacred Heart Radio, handed me a note and said, when is Jerry and Debbie coming to Walla Walla, Washington? So they want us to come to Walla Walla.
Great.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Well, actually, Debbie, as you've seen, I've been exchanging emails with some great folks in Canada. They have a conference they call Regenerated, and they're looking at you and me coming up there in 2019. And I'm talking about maybe going to Reno to speak to a Catholic business group there.
Yes.
And you and I are booked for a parish mission in Sun City, Arizona next year. So, yeah, Debbie and I would be happy to come out, give talks, do the radio show live, just to spend time with you, our listening family, and others in your area. We'd love to do that.
And another thing that we love to do, keep in mind, I just wanted to say real quickly, we have a monthly unscripted show. That is tomorrow, Friday. So if God forbid we don't get to you today when you call in, because phone lines fill up very quickly, you can always call back tomorrow on the unscripted show, because it's an open forum where we can address past topics, past shows. You can suggest future shows. You can ask us questions. It's a great time for us to get to know one another better. Then that's the unscripted. And also the first show of every month for the 2018 year, we're dedicating it to prayer. So keep in mind your prayer intentions and requests that you want for the whole world to pray for. That's the first live show of each month in 2018. And Jerry, these two particular shows are they're widely popular.
They are. Yeah, well, people love to pray and get other people praying with them and for them for their intentions, so we're happy to do that. And then, like Debbie said, the Unscripted, which is coming up tomorrow. So if you didn't get in on a past show, you want to comment on a past show, or anything going on in the news, in the world, in your little circle of life where you live there, that's your opportunity. But today, we're talking about keeping your memory sharp. Remind me, all right, how do you keep your memory strong and exercise it, making sure it's of good use to you? 833-288-EWTN. Grab that open phone line.
Our meditation for Thursday of the 5th week of Lent in Passiontide is drawn from the words of Jesus' argument with his enemies and his critics. In these arguments, it says, the Jews said to him, now we know that you have a demon, because Abraham died and the prophets, and you say, if anyone keeps my word, he will not taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died? This is in John 8. Jesus says to them, if I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. It is my Father who glorifies me, of whom you say that he is your God. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. He saw it and was glad. And they said to him, you're not even 50 years old. You've seen Abraham. And he said to them a line that was very, very difficult for them to hear. Truly, truly, I say to you that before Abraham was, I am. This line means you cannot be pleasantly indifferent to Jesus Christ. Perhaps if you don't have faith, you have to consider that he's a madman, because he says, I am, which for the Jewish people meant that I am God. There is no question that Jesus, the carpenter of Nazareth, makes himself equal to God. That's why he was condemned. And either he is or he is not. It's a yes or no question. And if you don't face that question, you end up with a snowman named Jesus who's going to melt in the sunlight. I believe in him. I have no other hope but him. I think I have known him mysteriously all my life. And if you have not, stop and pray and listen, and you will.
This is your show. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Thanks to the show team, our affiliates, for carrying the program, and your participation. It drives the show every day. And today we are talking about the mind, the memory in particular. And it's really kind of an interesting phenomenon. This Debbie and I just sort of, as we go through life, brainstorm different topics. And I think this might have occurred to me, Debbie, one day when I was, I thought I needed to do something, and I got up to walk down the hall, and after about 4 steps, I'd forgotten what it was. So, but yeah, we want to talk about, keeping the memory strong. There are tools. By the way, I want to mention a tool that came to my attention a few years ago when I was hosting Catholic Answers Live. A gentleman by the name of Kevin Vost, a really wonderful Catholic guy, has a book called Memorize the Faith and Most Anything Else, using the methods of the great Catholic medieval memory masters. That may be in the EWTN religious catalog. I'm not sure, but
Can you say
if
it
it's
again?
not,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, I encourage people to look up Kevin Vost, V-O-S-T, and his book is Memorize the Faith and Most Anything Else, using the methods of the great Catholic medieval masters, memory masters.
Wow. I've never heard of that. Do you have that book?
I do somewhere, yeah. I got a copy when I was doing the show with him at Catholic Answers, and
Nice.
really, I love yeah, when I was in college, and I know we've got to get to the phones. Irene, hang on, and Elaine and the others. But Debbie, I would memorize my exam notes, my class notes by. I would always use acronyms or assign. I would take little groups of notes and assign a letter to it, and then I would memorize all that sequence of letters, and then that helped me to subsequently remember what that little group of notes was all about. So
Right.
there are a lot of ways
Interesting.
to do this. Yeah.
Little techniques, yeah. I'm going to share something too that I think might be helpful. Okay, here's the number if you want to weigh in on this. Let's talk about memory today and maybe what's going on in your life and how you keep your memory sharp. We want to hear from you. 1-833-288-3986. That's 833-288 EWTN. Okay, Irene's got our first up virtual award. Irene in Albany, New York, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Irene. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
My call. So, my grandmother passed away this morning. She was battling Alzheimer's for quite a few years. And for the past 5 years or so, she really had no memory or recollection of who any of us were, who she was, where she was. And so my question is, even though the person battling disease, is it possible that the soul still remembers and still has spiritual needs? And is it possible that the test is really for the family caring for that individual? Hello?
Yeah, no, I'm listening.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, okay. My
Yes.
phone was beeping.
Okay,
And,
that's okay,
So
Irene.
that kind of a thing.
Right. Real quickly, I just wanted to share this. Jerry, I just wanted to let you know my computer screen just froze up, so I have no way to communicate with you. But Irene, I just wanted to answer real quickly what you had to say. First of all, can you share your grandmother's first name so we can enter her into our prayer book?
Sure. Her name is Carolyn.
Carolyn. Okay. We're sorry for your loss. Absolutely. And
Thanks.
I'm not an expert in this at all. However, I do have family members dealing with this same issue, dementia. And I have to tell you that I'm learning and I'm trying to really educate myself as I go along. And there's a lot happening in the medical field. There's a lot coming down to impart to us on a daily basis, actually. And I think this disease is very, very, very hard on everybody involved. I think it's hard on the one going through it. I think it's hard on the family members. I think it's hard on the caregivers, the staff that has to take care of these wonderful folks. I believe, this is my personal belief now, Irene, and so you can take this for what it's worth. I believe that when a person is dealing with Alzheimer's, dementia, or anything related like that, where the memory starts to fade or starts to completely or completely goes, I think we have to focus. We have to focus on the soul, because if we don't, we lose the whole idea of who they are, their dignity, what they have accomplished on this earth, what they have done, their life experience. We lose it all. We have to focus on their soul and somehow get past this this really huge wall that's there of the memory going. And we've got to remember, the reason why I say this, Irene, is because my mother was in a care facility with many memory related issues, residents. And I watched people, well intentioned people, family members, caregivers, all sorts of people, some just didn't know how to deal with it. And so you would see them kind of relate to these wonderful folks. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, these people had a whole life before they lost their memory. And we still have to remember that. So I don't know if I'm rambling on about this, Irene, but does that, you see, am I sort of kind of capturing or maybe even offering another perspective to this?
Yes, and really I just wanted to, a lot of family members had cut my grandmother off. They stopped visiting her. They pretty much cast her off as really not there anymore, even though physically she was there. I knew she was there spiritually. So I guess I'm wondering, isn't it still so essential to continue to physically be with those people, hold their hand, sing to them,
Yes.
visit them on a regular basis? It's not for nothing. I mean, so my comment and question is really, just because they can't articulate anymore who we are or their memory, it's not a reason to stop giving them the same emotional and spiritual closeness as anybody else would.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Are
right.
the needs the same? The soul hasn't changed. And I was trying to explain that to a lot of different family members, and they thought I was crazy.
Irene,
I have a special needs. I have
ahead.
a special needs son, and he can't talk. And my whole relationship with my son is closeness. Singing to him, holding him, and he can't tell me anything. He can't say, "Mom, I love you," "Mom, I'm happy." But there was a familiarity there between my grandmother with her nonverbal, situation, and then my son. And I felt like it's hard for people to understand that they're still in there, and it doesn't matter if they can't tell us; they're still there.
That's right.
So that's all.
Well, Irene, I wouldn't say that's all. That was really quite a lot of profound wisdom, and God bless you, with your special needs child. In fact, I was going to make the analogy that, between maybe someone near the end of life spectrum with an age-related issue like Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that, and it's very analogous to even younger people, who have issues such as special needs and so forth. I applaud you for that, and I would say a wholehearted yes to your question or your comment. We need to continue to be present to each and every person, because their dignity does not lie in whether they have their memory is operative or it's fading, or they're able to talk or not, or contribute in any way to society. Their dignity lies in who they are as a person made in the image and likeness of God. So absolutely. And Irene, Debbie, I have a good friend whose mother for many, many years through, I think, dementia or Alzheimer's was in an assisted living facility, and he would go visit her and just sit there, just be there. Mm-hmm. And she could not talk. He wasn't even sure if she knew he was there. And then I remember one time, I think it was on Christmas Day, he just shared with her that God loves her. And just out of nowhere, for the first time in years, she actually spoke. And she says,
Right.
I know. She
Wow.
said, I know.
Wow.
And so, there is something going on. And Debbie, I would propose this, and Debbie, maybe you and Irene can maybe share your thoughts on this. This is just, again, my own thoughts on this. But maybe when some of these faculties are diminished or taken away from us, there could even be a heightened sense of people's presence, and a heightened sense of the presence of God and
Right.
of the spiritual.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's possible.
I agree with you. That's like when I have a friend who's blind, and they have such a heightened sense of when somebody when someone comes into the room, they have a heightened sense of smell. They have a heightened sense. It's amazing how the other senses take over. So that's very interesting. I would say that's definitely a possibility. Irene, real quickly, I just wanted to also say, please know we're already getting text messages coming in saying we're praying for your family, and the loss of your grandmother, Carolyn. But you're a great mom. I just love the way you view life. I love the way you view the soul. I think it's wonderful. If there's anything else you'd like to share with us, we really want to listen to you.
Thank you. Thanks for taking my call. I have 2 kids here. I got to run and take care of them, but thank you so much.
Okay, Irene.
Yep. Helping them is far more important
Thank
than
you.
talking with us. Thanks, Irene. 833-288. God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Talking about memory today, keeping the memory sharp and strong, and obviously Irene got us started off with a difficult challenge that many people are facing nowadays, and that is either themselves or a loved one losing that ability to remember things and be mentally sharp. Yeah, Deb.
Yeah. Jerry, I just want to say something real quickly. In one of my mom's care facilities, there was this wonderful gentleman, and he was dealing with the beginning stages of Alzheimer's. And I remember sitting at a dinner table with him and my mom and a few other of the residents. And I was just so curious. And so I said to him, I need to know, tell me about your life, tell me what you've done and your family and everything. He was a world-renowned surgeon.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you believe that? And he started sharing with me all the things that he accomplished and the awards and everything. And I was sitting there just in awe of all he accomplished. And I thought, this is really cool. That's why it's important that we really get to know our elderly. They have a whole wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience, and they've accomplished a lot in this world. So I just wanted to share that. It reminded me of this gentleman. He has since passed away. So, okay. Phone number to call to get in on this Remind Me show is 1-833-288-3986. That's the number to call. Elaine?
Yep.
We're going to Texas.
Hello.
Hi, Guadalupe Radio you're listening to. Hi, Elaine. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm from here in wonderful Texas, and it is almost 80 degrees here, so we're loving it. Can you hear me?
Just fine.
Okay, good. All right, well, anything, I wanted to just first of all thank you because I remember your kindness. I'm the person who had the flu and missed your retreat in Coleman, Alabama, and I was grief-stricken about that. But anyway, I'm very grateful for your kindness with that. But just quite a few things. The last caller just very impactful and reminded me of my grandmother. And she, in her waning years, she was in a care facility. And she could do 2 things. She could play patty cake, and she could pray the rosary. She could say the Hail Mary. So those things that really touched her. I'm an educator, and a couple of things is just been very interested in memory. I was educated by the School Sisters of Notre Dame. And so I was always interested in a study that was started in the 60s called the Nun Study, and been kind of following that for about 40, 50 years. They followed these sisters. And their memories are just impeccable, and it relates a lot to what you're saying, keeping your mind stimulated. But also, as an educator, we have information overload, and so selective memory is something that's very helpful to me. The thing about the cell phone, I deliberately throw those things out. I think there's another study that says, and when I'm teaching the kids, I go, well. The research indicates that the younger you are, the less you have in your brain. And so the more space you have. And so so you can remember more. And so as we go through the years, our brain just gets full up. And I was also at a conference once where they said that our brains function like a mailbox, like different mailboxes that you put mails in. So learning that, when I can't find a name, I can't grasp that name, and then all of a sudden 30 seconds later or 2 days later, the name comes up. I know, well, I'm checking my mailbox, and my brain is working in that respect. So just absolutely love that, and I understand that our physical exercise, physiology, the types of drugs we take or don't take, the types of food we eat. But I think personally, just continuing to seek those best ways to retain our memories. Of course, genetics plays a whole big role of that, and then spiritual centering and bringing it all together through the spiritual and through joy. So anyway, that's all I had to say, and just love your show.
All right. Thank you, Elaine, so much. We're coming up on that immovable break, so we'll let you go, Elaine, and I have a couple thoughts on that, and Debbie, you may as well. That's actually fascinating. I never would have looked at it that way, Debbie, that, the brain has a certain, I guess it makes sense that the brain has a certain capacity. Maybe we need to talk to God about, getting an upgrade on our, a hard drive, or the hard drive in our brains. But anyway, thanks, Elaine, for the call. We will share a couple thoughts on that on the other side of the break, and then we got a lot of other people to get to.
Yeah, keep listening, Elaine, because we will share that. But we want to also just encourage you to call in. And if you have something to say about this, now's the time to do it. 1-833-288-EWTN. That's the number to call to get on the show. We're talking about memory today and age-related things. And how do you feel about it? How are you taking it on? What are you doing to help safeguard yourself and prevent it? And we want to hear everything. Let us have a little glimpse into your life, because it really helps us to grow and to learn and hopefully get closer to God, because we always weave in our spirituality like we did with our first caller, Irene. We'll be right back.
Post your intentions on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's website. To get there, just click on the bright yellow J&D logo at take2show.com. Jerry and Debbie personally reply to every prayer intention that's posted. Others will also offer you their prayer support. When there's something important you want prayers for, post it on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's site. Visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo today.
St. John the Baptist wasn't killed because he refused to bow to some pagan god. Herod, who had John beheaded, didn't care that much about religion. St. John ultimately lost his head because he wouldn't keep quiet. And more specifically, he wouldn't stop challenging Herod and his wife to leave their sins of the flesh. When we challenge people directly and clearly about sin, it can make them angry. When we simply call a sin what it is, that can make people angry too. But sometimes, that's exactly what God is calling us to do. And it's what love demands of us. I'm not saying we're supposed to challenge people all the time when we see them in sin or doing something immoral. Sometimes silence is wise. Sometimes we need to build up a friendship before we can earn the right to be heard. But when those times come where God is calling us to speak with clarity, we can either play it safe and keep silent or be saints. We don't get to be both. St. John the Baptist, pray for us. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
I just wanted to thank you for your show. It's made such a huge difference in my faith life, because if you don't know why you're doing things and you're just going through the motions, it's totally pointless. But if you know why, it's infinitely meaningful. So you really helped me make a 180.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Later today on Catholic Answers Live, open forum with Jimmy Akin and Father John Trujillo. Any question you have about the Catholic faith is welcome. Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you, Cy, and we appreciate you all listening and participating. A lot more calls that we are going to get to. We were talking with Elaine in Texas, and you heard Elaine mention that she had something come up and was not able to join us for the Stand Tall retreat in Alabama. Yeah, the flu after signing up there. So we missed you, Elaine, but actually we've mentioned this on the show before, so it's not any big dark secret. We're looking at the possibility of doing the next Stand Tall retreat in Texas, Elaine.
Texas, the great state of Texas.
Yeah. See, I was fascinated by what Elaine said regarding these nuns and how their memories just stayed so sharp. And Debbie, she went on to talk about some things that I think probably contributed to that and maybe play a factor for all of us. And she mentioned so many different things, medications that we take perhaps, I'm sure, diet, exercise, and really actually intentionally exercising the mind and the brain, which I think, like I said at the start of the show, nowadays I think that's gone a little bit by the wayside because we don't have to so much. You know what I mean? So, but I think
we rely on technology.
Yeah, but I think Elaine touched on something important. It's kind of like the body. It is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and physically, what we put in, how we exercise, all of these things, sleep that we get, I think it's all going to play a role.
I agree. Elaine, also, too, if you're still listening, we're still finishing up the final housekeeping details of the retreat, just tying up everything. So you'll be hearing from us soon, and we're just glad that I believe, Jerry, her whole area in Texas was hit very hard by the flu. So it sounds like everybody is bouncing back and getting back to their daily routines, and that's great. So thank you, Elaine. Just keep in mind, remember, you'll be hearing from us soon. Okay, Lois. Oh, it's our Lois in Marble Falls, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Lois, a Stand Tall Retreat graduate.
Woohoo, Texas!
Hi, Lois.
How y'all doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. So to start off with a little bit of humor, you know why those nuns had such good memories?
Why?
They never had husbands.
Oh, Lois, you are hilarious.
Just
I love it. But you know what?
So,
you have a real life story that you're living right now. I think could benefit all of us. Do you want to share that?
Well, just going to keep it simple. The beauty of Alzheimer's is their hearts they don't lose memory. So there's no loss of memory in the heart. So I'm blessed. My husband, as y'all know, has Alzheimer's. And, I still love him, and he still loves me. And you can't take that away with any disease. So.
Wow. Well, Lois, your heart is beautiful, and we know that not only from calling the show, but we saw you at the retreat, and we were so blessed to have you there. But getting back to, I think it was Irene, Debbie, who talked about still being present to those who may not have the strong memory or the ability to talk or whatever. And Lois, maybe just share with our listeners, you can really drive home the point that Irene was making, how important that is both to your husband and to you. It sounds like it's really vital.
It is. But the other thing I want to say is I'm so thankful that God gave me the grace that I can do this because everybody can't. And I don't look down on anybody who can't because it's not easy. But I'm truly, between people praying for me and, accepting the graces, I am able to do it and have done it for years. But everybody can't do it. And whether it's a spouse or a parent or a friend or whatever, I really don't believe God expects everyone to do it. So I don't think anybody should sell themselves short if they're not able to visit or be around somebody who is losing their memory.
Right. I'm glad you said that, Lois, because we actually have a lot of people that call in and they have heavy guilt that they are feeling because they can't seem to really get comfortable with it, and it's a tough thing, and and so I'm glad you said that from your experience and what you've seen. Lois, can we just do something just for all of us, just to kind of celebrate your husband? Can you share with us a little bit of the highlights of his life? What did he accomplish? What did he do? What was his dreams? Just a little bit so we can get a snippet of your beautiful husband.
Oh my gosh, an amazing man, very generous. Ironically, one of my favorite stories is I'm a cradle Catholic. He was raised Jehovah's Witness, but because of our age difference, he had forgotten that when he was in Alaska in the military, because he had nothing else to do, he became Catholic. And he had forgotten. And being a cradle Catholic, it's like, how do you forget that you're Catholic? And one day, we actually got married outside the church initially while he was waiting for an annulment. And he says to me, he goes, Lois, I think I'm Catholic. I'm like, what? Aww. And sure enough, because of our age difference, he's almost been a Catholic as long as I have been. So, but he always supported me, always went to church with me. He was is still a very generous man. Yeah. Continues to give to me in ways I could never even imagine because of things he set up and stuff like that. I'm one of 8. My dad
hopefully none of my siblings are listening, but my dad always said he was his favorite son-in-law, and he worried the least about me of all his daughters who got married. So that was a compliment. And, used to be a marathon runner and hockey player and baseball and could read 3 books at a time and had 100 employees. I mean, he was smart. Finally got his bachelor's degree at 57 years old, and then this stupid disease hit him, in his early 60s. And now he's fixing to be 79. So it's been a long trip.
Yeah.
But I won't trade it for the world.
But, yeah, right.
People have been married longer than us and not with the right guy where, I would do it all over again to spend the time I've had with him. So.
And that's the key right there, Lois. This is love. I mean, this is spousal love, on full display here. And I'm so glad to hear how you get, love from him in ways that you never could have imagined either. And you never would have asked for this. Nobody would ask for this. But you both have embraced it and turning it into a real gift back to the Lord, I think, Debbie. So, it's just... Yeah.
Yeah. I love your story, Lois. I love you. I am so glad you made it to the Stand Tall retreat. Oh, yeah. And we can't wait because if we come to Texas, it's right in your backyard. So we hope we get to see you again.
It's such a small state.
That's right. It's just down the street.
Yeah. You'll drive to see us. We know you will. Thank you, Lois, so much. Thanks for brightening our day.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate y'all. Love you.
Bless you, Lois, and your husband. Thanks so much. Wow. That's real life, Deb. That's what this show's about.
Life.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful call. And Lois is a great woman. Wow. Okay, here we go. Marilyn in Warrington, Pennsylvania, listening on Sirius XM 130. I hope I said your town right, Marilyn. Welcome.
Hello?
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn.
Oh, hello. Thank you so kindly. And God bless you both, your hearts, for educating us and giving us the opportunity to know that there's good people out there amongst all this chaos that we live in. First of all, I wanted to share briefly the fact of I fully understand what the first caller is going through. I myself have a special need young lady, which she only had 10 days to live, and with the grace and the prayers and the strength of the Lord and the Virgin Mary, she's already in her mid-20s. So I always pray, and my question is that, yes, all my life I've been a caregiver. My husband died in a tragic accident at work, and I just devote 24/7 to my children. So nevertheless, one of the things is that I'm going to say it's sometime last year, I was informed of that my mom was diagnosed with dementia, and I've been doing research and trying to find out anything and everything I possibly can, because one of the things that when I pray to the good Lord is asking him to give me the grace to be able to make new memories, to be able to give her the best she can possibly remember at the time and share good moments with the entire family, with grandchildren, things of that nature. It's just I'm going to be their caregiver as well, so I know it's not easy because I take care of my young lady, my daughter, 24/7. I just, in a way, I would like to know, where can I get assistance, because they are planning to move in with me because I live alone with my daughter. I never remarry after being a widow for over 20-some-odd years. And what's important to me is that I want to do whatever it takes. Like, the Lord always says, the present is here. And whatever's going to happen tomorrow, at least I want to be able to make the best I possibly can, including family and friends. while she can remember. Right. And I know I'm going to need also some assistance because I'm going to be now both their caregivers, and I already, am a caregiver for a special need young lady. Like I said, she's in her mid-20s, but she requires 24/7, and I literally do, take care of everything as well.
Marilyn, let me first. The first suggestion I would make is talk to your parish. If you haven't talked to your parish, your church, they typically would have knowledge of resources such as the kind that you're looking for. I'm thinking of, in my area, there's an agency called Visiting Angels, and Debbie, I believe that they're operative in your area as well. So there are definitely resources available, Marilyn. Debbie and I wouldn't have them, readily available to us necessarily, but I would start with your church, your parish. They may even have somebody like a social worker or somebody on staff. But if not, then Debbie, what would you say? I mean, the government, there are governmental agencies and so forth that really, Marilyn is in a tough situation. God bless you, Marilyn. You are doing double duty here on the caregiving, and you know what, Debbie, people need help in a situation like that.
Yeah, Marilyn, I just want to commend you for what you are taking on. It's a ministry for you, and with that, I think I agree with Jerry. You reach out to your parish, reach out to your local community, and find out what services are available to you. You'd be surprised how many are really a lot of them are free. Some you have to pay for, but there's like what Jerry had shared, the Visiting Angels groups. There's other organizations like that can come out, and you can hire them for a time. But there are a lot of resources out there. I was shocked when it first happened in our family, when my mother was diagnosed with dementia, early stages of it. I thought we were all alone, and wouldn't you know it, there was many ministries that were all around us. There was local services available to us. There was adult services in the community to go out and get exercise and recreation, all that kind of stuff. So Marilyn, I just would encourage you to keep reaching out, because sometimes when you're the caregiver, you're so focused on that, you're not thinking about trying to enlist support. And so I just want to say thank you for doing that, taking, kind of planning it out before you enter into it, because that'll help you as well, because you need time for yourself as well. So because the stronger you are, then you can be that to the people you're caring for. So I just wanted to say that, and call back and share with us maybe what you found along the way. I mean, we all have to learn and grow together. So I don't know if you can do that. Did that help at all, Marilyn?
As a matter of fact, that did. The only thing is that I've been dealing with the system for over decades, and there's been a great deal of ups and downs, a lot of downside, because it's difficult even trying to get assistance for my child, and I lost my job on 6 different occasions, and nevertheless, I had another tragedy with my other child, which I almost lost, and the one with special needs, I almost lost her on 3 or 4 different occasions. But I always say, when you have the Lord by your side, I never feel alone, not at all. Him and the Virgin Mary are, oh my God, there isn't word to describe what they have done for me and my family, and the fact that I was able to keep them all together through all the trying, difficult, and close to death situation. But I was noticing that it does take a toll. After a while, it takes a toll, because I've been doing it for decades already, and now I have more on my plate with both my parents, coming up and living with me.
Marilyn, you mentioned...
Nevertheless, I'm definitely going to continue searching out there.
Please do, and be sure, Debbie always says this, and I echo it, Marilyn, take care of yourself. When you do get some help to come in, make sure that you maybe get out of the house a little bit, go for a drive, go to your favorite restaurant, go to the gym, do some things to relax, go to, prayer, make sure you get to church. I'm sure you're doing that. It sounds like that. But I would simply just say, you're doing a really heroic thing. And So we appreciate you calling the program. And again, you said you've been doing this. You've been looking into agencies for a long time. So you're kind of familiar with the landscape out there. So we're going to pray, Debbie and I, and also Marilyn. We would like to get the names of, I believe, your husband, who you said died tragically, and your daughter, who's still with you, the special needs child. Could we have each of their first name? Yeah, and your mom. If you don't mind sharing the first names of all of them, we have a prayer book that we like to keep and pray with.
Oh, I really would appreciate, because we need that more than anything. My child is Francesca. My husband is Michael. And my mom is Anna. And my dad is Angel. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and I'm also going to be caring for him as well.
Wow.
But, oh, yes, your prayers, oh, my goodness. There's nothing else that I can, be so grateful for other than your prayers. Prayers are, my goodness, I sometimes feel they're like a wonderful piece of pie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, Marilyn, Debbie and I know Debbie, we both pray the rosary every day, and I have yet to pray my rosary and Chaplet of Divine Mercy, so I will offer that for your loved ones, Marilyn, and for all of the Take Two family. Yeah, and for you, Marilyn, as well. Yes. As I know Debbie and I both keep all of the Take Two family in our prayers every day. Marilyn, bless your heart. Thank you for calling, and you really are doing a really great thing. God will see that, and He will reward that.
Real quickly, Glenn from Nebraska weighed in via text messaging, and he said, I just want to weigh in on this. Not only is the memory important, but also the memories. When we are young, we don't have time to listen to the stories, and when we're older, it may be too late.
Wow. Great wisdom, Glenn. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, one way, that we have always, Debbie, over time have kept our minds and our memories strong, and I think it's kind of falling by the wayside, is reading. We don't, I don't read like I once did, and a lot of us don't, because we can kind of, obtain content in different ways, technologically and audio and so forth, all of which are great. But I really want to encourage everyone, especially when it comes to getting your news. EWTN has many, many news sources, and one of those is the National Catholic Register. It's a weekly publication. It's published by EWTN, and I would say, as I survey the landscape and I look at weekly Catholic publications, Debbie, this jumps out to me as probably the most reliable and most trusted Catholic news source. It's really got a comprehensive view of the world and a distinctively Catholic perspective, so you can get started. In fact, you can subscribe. 6 free issues, and then if you like it, you can subscribe at a 35% savings off the newsstand price. So just visit ncregister.com today. Join me, join Debbie, and all the people who receive the Register from EWTN.
That's a great deal. I love that.
It is.
Okay, Deborah in Wichita, Kansas, listening on Holy Spirit Radio. Deborah, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, hello. This topic really has a lot of interest from my end. My husband passed away several years ago as a result of dementia and Parkinson's, and my children and we took care of him 24/7 at home. I also am an RN, and I've worked in the field in hospital settings with elderly with dementia, other psychiatric diagnoses. One thing I can say with regard to the memory, and you had mentioned earlier in your program that looking at the soul of the person, that is so important. I know when my husband was going through it, it's all like, I was in nursing school at the time because I went to school later in life. And I referred to my instructors when he passed away my last semester of nursing school. He was my case study. I learned so much about dementia and just the unexpected behavior, and he could not be left alone, and just a number of situations that arose. I look back on it, and I sort of look at it, and this might sound strange, but my husband was an artist, and he would say to me, "Oh, I pray that nothing ever goes wrong with my sight." And nothing ever went wrong with his sight. But the dementia because of the memory and the behavior that is associated with it. I look at it as God's blessing. Nothing went wrong with his sight, but it allowed him to be in his own little world and play with his art tools and pieces, and just like a little kid, and give him peace. And then dealing with patients and patients' families, one thing I've noticed is, we don't want to be confronted with our own mortality and what can happen. And I have seen sometimes patients' families just walk swiftly off the hall in tears because they see how a parent or a loved one who has they have that diagnosis of dementia, whether it's just started or it's end stage or various elements of the dementia and the progression and what can happen. And it's a shock, and different people deal with it. With regard to caretakers, please get help. Been there, done that. My children and a childhood friend who helped out, you need that help to get away. You don't walk on water. And if you go to pot and get wasted, the patient suffers. They suffer. And so what do you accomplish?
Deborah, a couple things. First off, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the loss of your husband. Can you share with us his first name? We'd love to enter your entire family into our book.
Sure. His name was Lawrence.
Lawrence, okay. And then, thank you. And then I wanted to, a couple things you said. First of all, you said you were an RN, or you are an RN. I love the nurses. I love you guys. I tell you what the nurses have done, my mother wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the nurses. The nurses were amazing. So thank you for the vocation, for the ministry work you did in your nursing career. Thank you for that. Deborah, you said so many incredible things that I tried to make notes of, but is there just a couple quick things very, very quickly, because I'm looking at the clock. We only got about a minute. Deborah, can you just impart maybe a couple things that all of us could maybe look into? You said about the caregivers to take care of ourselves. Maybe a couple things we could look into for research so we can better understand this disease.
Well, the Alzheimer's Association, the national one, has a lot of great things. Believe it or not, music is wonderful for Alzheimer's patients. If you can invest in a pair of headphones with their favorite type of music, that when there seems to be an agitated period for that person, you can program it to, let's say if they like gospel music or country music, and you can program it, and you will be amazed at how that will settle them down at times, and give the caretaker time to do little chores. Another thing I remember learning, this is in nursing school, and just for if you don't have Alzheimer's or dementia, but just thinking about it, some of the things in terms of possible preventative aspect of it is to learn a hobby that is totally opposite of what you do. And like, for example, if you're a jeweler or a machinist and you work with real fine type things.
Got about 20 seconds, Deborah. Sorry, got about 20 seconds.
Okay. So that, and stop smoking and don't drink very much, because alcohol and smoking can do a lot of damage to the brain.
Deborah, you are another one of our heroes today. Thank you so much for calling in, and bless your heart.
I wouldn't call myself a hero.
I know you wouldn't. I know you. So that's why we're going to do that, Deborah. Thank you. And Debbie, I'm just the show went a little bit different direction than what we thought, but it was the Holy Spirit's direction. And Debbie, I just think the love and the care of the people that we have heard from today, who've taken such good care of their family members, it's just so. It's so edifying to me. I think it's amazing,
I couldn't agree more, Jerry. Thank you to everyone who listened and participated today. It was a fabulous, fabulous show. We all learned a little bit, we grew, and that's what Take Two's all about. Tomorrow's unscripted, open forum. Bring anything to the table, we'll entertain it. That's what tomorrow's show is. It's our monthly unscripted. Jerry?
Well, Debbie is at Sacred Heart Radio in Seattle. As she said, it's that time of year. Pledge drives. You don't get EWTN if you don't support them and your local Catholic station. So please be very, very generous. And until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed